Hey guys, what's up? So I just finished recently Atelier Ryza, the first one on the PlayStation 4, and I just gotta admit that I couldn't believe how hard it was. I mean, this is a game from a series that's known for being easy, relaxing, people play these games to chill, and all of a sudden they throw this game at us and it's extremely hard on normal mode. Oh yeah! So my story with this game begins when I streamed it a couple of years ago, I think, and I remember the first boss of this game. I had a lot of issues with it, and I was surprised because, I just couldn't believe an Atelier game was hard from the beginning. This is a series that usually takes you by the hand. Even the ones that are kind of challenging, like the Iris trilogy, for example, or Eska and Logi, which I think is one of the hardest, but they all start pretty easy. Extremely easy, as a matter of fact. And this game, right from the start, boom, it beats the crap out of you in no time. So I remember I had several other priorities back then, and I never went back to this game until a couple of weeks ago, right after finishing Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And when I came back, the second boss of the game, also destroyed me. And we're talking about these little two guys you're seeing right now. I just couldn't believe it, they were beating the crap out of me on normal mode. And these aren't even major bosses, these are just two elite monsters! When I died, I realized that I had severely underestimated the game, but I did that because I had gotten used to playing Atelier games. And I played most of them, and every single one of them, including the Iris trilogy, was easy. They don't get challenging until halfway through the game or near the end. The majority don't get hard at all the entire game. So I also realized that I had mediocre equipment, a mediocre level, so of course I did some grinding, so of course I ended up synthesizing weapons and armor and getting the best equipment possible at that point of the game, and I destroyed these little two guys eventually. And then a third boss appeared, which is a big dragon, and it beat the crap out of me again. And that's when I understood what was the problem. Let me explain the combat of this game. The battle system in Atelier Ryza is actually a combination between turn-based and real-time. The battles are flowing constantly, like the old Final Fantasy games, the game does not wait for you, the enemies do not wait for you, and every time you open the menus to select your actions, the game is still flowing, the battle's still going on. So it was very difficult for me to get used to these battle mechanics, especially because they're also a little bit convoluted, they get more complicated the more you advance, and it's kind of stressful, it's kind of a stressful battle system because, honestly, however great it is, because it is great and it is one of the better Atelier combat systems in the series, I respect that it quickly became one of my favorites, not my favorite, that goes to Shelly, but it's still pretty damn good. However, it's kind of stressful because you have your allies, your party members yelling at you constantly to do what they're asking you to do in order to make a special attack and increase the AP. The AP is the action points bar, it fills up the more you attack with regular attacks, and whenever you use a special attack or a skill, it uses the AP points. By abusing some skills and doing what your allies or party members are asking you to do, this is how sometimes you break the enemies and their turn gets severely delayed and they're pretty much vulnerable. Nonetheless, the enemies can do the exact same thing to you, and this happens way too often on normal mode. Unfortunately, I have no idea why the developers decided to remove one of the best features in the Atelier combat in the entire series. In most of them, you can change party members mid-battle, you can change to the ones that are not in your active party. Usually you have 3 or 4 active party members, and you can switch any of them at any given time for the ones on your roster. They removed that feature in here, and you're stuck with the 3 party members in battle, 2 frontal attackers, always, no matter what, and 1 support, which is the mage or the healer, and that's it. You're stuck with that formation, no matter what, and those 3 characters, no matter what. I have no idea why they decided to remove that awesome feature from the previous Atelier games, but whatever, it's still a great combat. And the good thing is that you can constantly switch with the trigger buttons, between your 3 party members, to do these attacks or to heal or to buff or debuff, or to attack an enemy with their weakness, etc. So it's challenging, but that's not where the hard part comes from this game. There's only one goddamn thing that's complete and utter BS that makes this game extremely difficult. And that is the enemies. All of them, not just the bosses, all of them have this power-up ability that occurs mid-battle, they kind of like power up and their turn gets severely delayed, fortunately, so you have a window of time, a certain window of time, a certain amount of time to beat the crap out of them, to break them and to kill them before they execute this massive attack. Because if they execute this attack, they do massive damage to your party. And sometimes they can break 1 or 2 characters and that delays their turn, and sometimes they can wipe out your entire party or kill at least 1 or 2 characters. And I'm talking once again about normal mode. Why is it so hard on normal mode? And why is this game so hard? It's an Atelier game! So if normal enemies can do that, holy shit, imagine the bosses. The bosses can destroy you in 1 turn if you do not kill them before they execute this massive powered up attack. The final boss in this game, oh man, it's ridiculously hard. Like, I can't believe it, you know. Like I said, I finished several Atelier games in my life and not even a single final boss in any of them comes even close to the one in this game. It's bullshit. I'm not gonna show any footage of the final boss to avoid spoilers, but just take into consideration everything I've said so far about the combat, and yeah, it's pretty damn hard. One thing that pissed the crap out of me in this damn game is the ending. I can't believe it. You know, they pulled some major crap. You do not do that to the player. Every single JRPG, well, at least the huge majority of them, ends after you beat the final boss. No, not Ryza, oh no. You beat the final boss in this game and the game is not over, baby. Oh no, you gotta craft 2 more items. And well, they're not hard to craft, you know, if you have the right materials and the whatever, you know, you just craft them and you get the story done, and that's it. You get the end credits, game over, the end. When the final boss beat the crap out of me, you know, I had to grind for 12 levels, you know, to be able to stand a chance. I had to craft the best weapons available, you know. I couldn't find the best ones in the game, you know, because I was missing some really hard to find materials and synthesis and recipes and whatever. So what I did was take advantage of a little feature that Ghost, the developers, introduced in this game, and thank God they introduced that feature, and that's the weapon buff feature. A lot of materials that you're not gonna use, you can turn them into gems. So you use this gem feature, you know, to get a lot of gems. So what I did besides grinding, you know, was get a lot of gems so I can buff my weapons. You don't craft, you know, new weapons with this, you buff them, you increase, you know, their stats, their damage, you know, their resistance, their speed, you know, and that increases the status of the characters. Why am I going back to the final boss thing? Because I probably must have used accidentally the Dragon's Eye. That's an item you get from defeating a couple of major bosses in the game, story bosses, but the game never tells you these items, the Dragon's Eye, this is an item you're gonna have to use at the very end, and that's the only item that you can use. No other item can substitute this one. The game never tells you that this is a very indispensable item to craft the final item to get the ending. Any ending. This game does not have multiple endings. Oh no, no matter what you do, you get the same ending, even if you're playing on hard, normal, or easy. So obviously do yourself a favor and keep the Dragon's Eye. Do not use it, never use it. I probably used it for something, or I accidentally turned it into a gem, to a bunch of gems. And that was it, because if you do not keep this item, oh man, after you beat the final boss and you get that climax in there completely ruined, you're gonna go into a massive rabbit hole with this game. Get this item, get this material, gather these items, synthesize this, get the recipe for this, get the recipe for that, and then finally craft the wind shoes that you're gonna use to reach a certain boss that drops the freaking Dragon's Eye. This has gotta be one of the most anticlimactic endings I've seen in a video game. You're supposed to beat the game once you beat the final boss. Why is he still going? Why do I have to craft more items? And just because I didn't have this Dragon's Eye that you never told me I had to keep and it was going to be indispensable at the end, why did you make me go through all that bullshit just to get it? But anyway, the game's great. A little review, you know, it's great. The battle system is amazing, you know, despite the flaws. And the visuals are beautiful, the pacing is great, no time limit in this game. This feels more like an adventure game than an Atelier game, where most of the Atelier games are quest driven. You gotta do a lot of side quests, and here you can just stick to the main story and that's it. You beat the game in like 25 hours or 30 hours, 35 maybe if you're playing on normal. And if you want to do all the side content in this game and play on hard, probably 50 hours. So despite my rant, I think this is a great game. I do recommend it. I still think games like Atelier Ryza 2 or Atelier Shelly are much better by a landslide, but this is a game that I really appreciate now, and I can clearly see why Ircha Gaming picked it as one of her favorites for our Atelier video that we did. Oh yeah, you heard that right, Ircha Gaming and I did a top 10 best Atelier games. I'll leave it at the end. So I do recommend this game. I haven't played the sequel, but this one was great. And yes, this game is hard, but it's hard compared to the other Atelier games. It is the hardest. Out of all the Atelier games I've played, this one is the hardest. But it's hard compared to them. Is it one of the hardest JRPGs ever? No, not even close. Is it harder than, I don't know, Xenoblade Chronicles 2? No way, man. Is it one of the hardest modern JRPGs? No, no way. So yeah, it's not that hard. Wait a second. Hardest modern JRPGs. So if this is not one of the hardest, what are the hardest modern JRPGs out there? The hardest modern JRPGs.